All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about time. That thing we plan our lives around, that we're always trying to measure, that we can actually feel passing. But what if our whole idea of it, this concept of a river flowing from the past to the future, what if that's not just wrong, but a fundamental glitch in how we see reality?
You've said this, right? I've said this. Where did the time go? We say it like we've misplaced our car keys, like it's something that can just get lost. And that one simple question, well, it shows just how deep our assumption goes, that time is a real, tangible substance. I mean, our whole lives are built on these metaphors. We say time flows, and we picture ourselves on some giant conveyor belt, moving away from a past that's already gone, toward a future that's just sitting there, waiting for us.
Or how about time is running out? We think of it like gas in a tank, something we can use up until it's empty. But here's the thing, these are just ideas. And as we're about to see, they're starting to glitch. They are totally breaking down when you really look at how the universe actually works.
So this is the heart of the problem. The mental operating system we all use for time is, well, it's busted. It's throwing up a huge system error, and it messes with everything from our understanding of physics to the way we experience our own lives.
So instead of trying to patch up that old, broken system, what if we just install a new one? A whole new rulebook for reality that completely reboots how we think. And we're going to call it Changism.
Changism gives us this radical but really simple idea. Time isn't a thing that flows anywhere. It's not a substance. It's just bookkeeping. It's the record we keep when we compare how fast one thing is changing compared to another.
Okay, if you remember one sentence from this whole explainer, make it this one. Time is a ledger over change, not a stage that events march across. It's not the container for the show, it's the scorecard.
Let's break that down. In the old model, the stage, time is a river, and we think clocks are somehow measuring its current. But in this new model, the ledger, time is more like a ruler. And here's the kicker. Clocks don't measure anything. They're just counting. That's all they do. Count, repeating physical events.
So think about it. Any clock, whether it's an old grandfather clock or a super precise atomic clock, is just a simple three-part recipe. First, you need a repeater, something that cycles over and over like a pendulum swing. Second, you need a counter to tally up those swings. And third, you just need a rule we all agree on. Like, hey, after 9.192 billion vibrations of a cesium atom, we'll call that 1 second. And that's it. No magic river required. Now that we've got this new rulebook, let's put it to the test. Let's see if we can use it to win an ancient philosophical boss battle that's been stumping people for about 2,500 years. So, meet our fighters. In this corner, we've got Heraclitus, the river guy. He's famous for saying you can't step in the same river twice. For him, reality is all about flow. Change is the only constant. And in the other corner, we have Parmenides, the rock. He argued that true change is impossible. For him, reality is one solid, eternal, unchanging thing. So how can both be right? How can reality be in a constant state of flux and, at the exact same time, be fundamentally stable? This just seems like an impossible fight, a paradox with no solution. But here's the twist. The paradox only seems impossible because both fighters were trapped by the exact same flawed idea, that stage model of time. They were arguing about what was happening on the stage without ever realizing the stage itself was the real problem. And this is how Changism solves the whole thing. It just redefines what a thing is. A thing, whether it's you, a rock, or a river, isn't a static object. It's a coherent pattern of change. Think of a whirlpool or a flame. It has a stable shape, right? But it's made of constant churning motion. Stability isn't the absence of change. It's a stable pattern of change. Okay, so this new rule book isn't just for sorting out old philosophical debates. It turns out it can also help us unlock some of the biggest, most mind-bending puzzles in modern physics. When you start thinking with this ledger model, suddenly these huge cosmic questions look totally different. Cosmic time stops being some universal clock for the whole universe and just becomes convenient bookkeeping for astronomers. You know that huge debate called the Hubble tension? It might just be an accounting error. What happens when you try to force measurements from different parts of the universe with different local rates of change into one single global ledger? And the legendary clash between relativity and quantum theory? Maybe they're not conflicting theories about time at all. Maybe they're just two different kinds of ledgers, describing change in their own unique language. Now, this isn't all about distant galaxies. This new way of thinking has huge implications for how we actually experience our own lives. To really get it, let's look at your brain's internal clock and figure out why, if time doesn't flow, it sure feels like it does. See, your brain and the clock on your wall are both tracking change, but they are keeping two completely different kinds of ledgers. The clock's ledger is objective. It just counts cycles, clean and simple. But your brain's ledger, well, it's subjective. It's messy. It pulls in everything, sights, sounds, emotions, your heartbeat, and weaves it all into a story that's designed to help you figure out what to do next.
And this explains why our sense of time is so weirdly flexible. When you're in a boring meeting, your brain is constantly writing entries in its ledger. Am I still here? Check the clock. How long has it been now? The ledger gets packed with entries, and time feels like it's dragging on forever. But when you're in a flow state, totally lost in a project, your brain is so absorbed it barely writes any of those time check entries. You look up, and bam, hours have just vanished. This also finally explains why time feels like it speeds up as we get older. It's not because some cosmic clock is ticking faster. Nope, it's because our lives fall into routines. We have fewer brand new, first-time experiences. Our memory ledger for a whole year becomes thinner, with fewer distinct chapters. So when we look back, entire years can feel like they've compressed into just a few moments.
So all of this leads to a pretty profound shift in how you can see yourself. You're not some player moving through a preset game called time. You're something much, much more fundamental than that.
At the very core of Changism is this incredible reversal of cause and effect. We tend to think that things exist first, and then they change. But what if we've had it completely backward this whole time? What if it's not that things change, but that change things? Change is the fundamental process that creates everything. Change is the artist, not just the action. And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question. If you aren't some static object being pushed along by time, but you are a dynamic, living, self-renewing pattern of change, then the question becomes, what pattern will you choose to be?